So when you first get started investing, everything can seem so complicated and so confusing, especially when everyone tells you like the only way that you can start investing is to pick single stocks. And so you start learning about how to pick single stocks and start hearing words like PE ratio, EBITDA, financial statements, cash flow statement, balance sheet, all these words that for a lot of us have never heard before. And so it gets complicated and there's a lot of mumbo jumbo. But in this video, I can show you a much simpler way that you can invest. And you can do that through something called an ETF, an exchange traded fund. This simplifies the whole jargon that it can be whenever you start investing in stocks. Rather than trying to figure out which single stock do I need to jump into, which single stock is gonna be the one that's gonna make me all my money, which single stock, which company is gonna lead me to the promised land, you don't have to worry about all of that stuff. All you gotta worry about is just the ETF. Now, what exactly is an ETF? An ETF is an exchange traded fund. It is a basket of stocks within one stock. The beautiful thing about an ETF is you get the highs and the lows of the good companies and the bad companies, and it balances out. That way your downside risk is very protected. And for a lot of us that are starting out, we need that downside protection more than anything else. But anyway, in this video, I'm gonna talk about the 5 best ETFs to get you started on your investing journey, to be the foundation before you start learning about single stocks. Let's go. What's going on, people? It's your boy Kalechi back with another video. If this is your first time around these parts, hit that subscribe button. If you enjoy anything that we talk about on this video, hit that like button. Turn that thing up. But anyway, in this video, we're gonna be talking about the best 5 ETFs for anybody who's just starting out investing. Maybe you got in because of the whole GameStop phenomenon. You're like, you know what, this is pretty cool. I wanna learn more about investing, but you're not sure about how to get started. Well, in this video, I'm gonna break it down for you. The things that need to be on your foundation. You know what they say, if you ain't got a good foundation, you're bound to fall. But anyway, in this video, we're gonna talk about the 5 best ETFs that will set you up to have a great foundation in your investing life. Let's get started with number 1. The first ETF that I believe everybody should maybe think about having in their portfolio, especially if you're just getting started and you have no idea what you're doing, is VTI, the Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF. Now, this ETF is basically Vanguard's opportunity to say, hey man, do you want to be exposed to the market? And you're like, well, yes, I do. And they're like, how many companies you want? And you're like, well, I don't know. How many you got? And they're like, we got over 3,000 companies for you. Because in this ETF, it has every single stock company that is listed on the stock exchanges, whether it's on the NASDAQ or whether it's on the New York Stock Exchange. In case you didn't know, there's 2 different stock exchanges that you can trade on in the United States. But anyway, that's besides the point. The point is every company that's on the stock exchange is in this ETF. This way you get exposure to the total market. You don't have to worry about what sector is going up, what sector is going down. As long as the United States economy continues to grow, you're gonna be fine. And that's ETF number 1. Now let's go to ETF number 2. ETF number 2 is either one of 2, and you can pick whichever one you actually want. They basically do the same thing. And these ETFs are VOO, which is the one that you probably heard from somebody talking about. Oh, you want to get started investing? Do this ETF. It's VOO. It's the ultimate one. Or you can do something else called SPLG. Both of these ETFs are basically the exact same thing. They track the S&P 500. Now you may be asking, what the heck is the S&P 500? Because you just got started investing. Well, my friend, the S&P 500 is the 500 best companies in the United States. Well, I say the 500 best companies. Some people may argue with me, but either way, it's some of the 500 largest companies in the United States. In other words, these companies tend to carry the rest of the market. Remember VTI with over 3,000? Well, these 500 companies basically carry the market. So a lot of people like this one as a better reflection of how the United States businesses are doing. Remember, the stock market is not the same as the economy. Let's never make that mistake. But regardless, you can do either this VOO or the SPLG. Now, the difference in the 2 is just the creators of either one. VOO is Vanguard's S&P 500 ETF, and SPLG is Spider's S&P 500 ETF. Yes, I said Spider. I don't know why they're called Spider, even though their actual name is State Street Investment Advisors. I don't know why it's called Spider. But regardless, this is a great ETF, especially for anybody who's just starting out investing. And you want exposure to companies like Microsoft, to Apple, to Tesla, which is everybody's darling right now, to Facebook, to Netflix, and so on and so forth. But you don't have the money to buy every single one of these companies. So what do? You buy either VOO or SPLG. Now, the main difference is the price. And I know for a lot of us who are just getting started, price is very important to us. And so even though you're getting the exact same result, and both of these have the exact same expense ratio, which is something that we'll have to talk about another time, SPLG trades at about $40 a share, and VOO trades at about $300 a share. Now, for a lot of people, when they see that, they're like, yo, what the heck? I can't buy VOO, but basically just know this, both of them are the exact same. But anyway, let's go from this and move into ETF number 3. Don't know why I spoke Spanish. ETF number 3. I don't know why I'm screaming, but I'm excited because this type of thing gets me excited. But anyway, ETF number 3 is one called QQQ, or the triple Qs. This ETF is Invesco's NASDAQ 100 ETF. It tracks the top 100 companies in the NASDAQ. Remember when I said that there are 2 exchanges? You have the NASDAQ and you have the New York Stock Exchange. Now, the only main difference is that NASDAQ was the first electrically managed stock exchange, electrically traded stock exchange. Remember in the old days, in order for you to actually buy a share in a company, you needed to go get a paper and then file that thing out and then hold it. And then, now I own this company. Ain't nobody got time for that. This is the digital era. Ain't nobody got time to be buying papers. But anyway, that's what the NASDAQ is. But the problem is the NASDAQ is mainly tech focused. So the top companies in the NASDAQ is not always going to be the same as the top companies in the S&P 500. Yes, there might be some overlap with the companies like Tesla's and the companies like Amazon and the companies like Apple and the companies like Microsoft and those kind of companies, but that's not always the case. For example, in the S&P 500, you don't get exposure to companies like DocuSign, to companies like, hold on, I gotta look at my notes. Peloton, to companies like Zoom. You don't get exposure to those kind of companies. But in the NASDAQ, you get exposure to those kind of companies. Also, because we've been in this technology boom era, a lot of growth has been through this QQQ, through the NASDAQ QQQ. However, I gotta poop on the party a little bit. The expense ratio on this is much higher than the other ones that I've listed. The other ones had an expense ratio of 0.03, where this one has an expense ratio of 0.2. Still not that bad, but just something to keep in mind. And now we're going to ETF number 4. ETF number 4, Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF. Ticker symbol SCHD. Don't make fun of the way that I say H. But anyway, this ETF is focused on getting you paid some dividends. What are dividends? Dividends are basically companies paying out a portion of their profits to you, the shareholders, which if you're a shareholder in a company, it means you own a percentage of that company. So therefore, you should be eating some of those profits. So dividends are like basically getting free money just for investing in a company. It feels very good whenever a dividend comes in. However, the beautiful thing about this ETF is that it's not just focused on dividends. It's also focused on growth, or rather it has a growth aspect to it, especially when compared to a lot of the other high yield dividend ETFs out there. It has exposure to companies like Apple, to Microsoft, to those kind of companies, but also it has the dividend paying beasts like Coca-Cola, like Pepsi, like Exxon, those that can continue to fuel you and give you income. So this is my dividend and this is my ETF number 4. Let's go to ETF number 5. ETF number 5. Can y'all think of anything that I haven't mentioned yet in this video? Any sort of exposure that I haven't talked about at all in this video? The international market. I haven't touched on it at all. All the stocks that I've mentioned so far, or rather all the ETFs that I've mentioned so far in this video have all been US based. So now let's talk about international markets and how you can get some exposure to it. And you can do that through an ETF called VXUX. VXUS. Almost sounds like V sucks, but VXUS is the ticker symbol. And this is Vanguard's Total International. Remember, we talked about VTI early on. This one is the Vanguard Total International market ETF. This gives you exposure to companies outside of the US. Think of companies like Honda. Think of companies like Toyota. Think of companies like Samsung. Think of companies like LG. Think of companies like Alibaba. Think of companies like Tencent. I could keep going on and on and on, but we're going to stop right there. But the fact is, this ETF gives you exposure to all the companies all over the world. That way you're not missing out, because there will be times where the international markets outperform the United States market. So therefore, this has been the 5 best ETFs that you can get to start off your investing journey. Remember, this is just the starting point. This is where you set the foundation. This is where you'll learn more, or start learning more, while your money keeps compounding for you, as you're learning more about how to invest, how to select single stocks, how to get better at making money in the stock market. But anyway, that's all I got for y'all. I hope y'all learned 1, maybe 2 things out of this entire thing. And if you did, hit that like button. But if you loved it, hit that subscribe button. But anyway, it's been your boy Glitcher. Remember, generosity is always greater than greed. God bless each and every single one of y'all, and I'm out. Peace. Whoosh.